So here we are, Millie Turner, welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
So you're a defender, but for those that don't know you, how would you describe your game?
I'm a fullback, but I'd say probably pace is probably my best asset, so I like to get high up as the pitch as possible during games, and I'm right-footed, but I play left-back, so I'd like to say that I can use both feet, but... Yeah.
Cutting in on your right foot.
Yeah, I'd say I'll try to.
Got to be done. So currently Huddersfield are competing in the Women's Premier North. What level is that, and on the football pyramid, and how is the season going so far for you?
So we are actually in the third tier of the women's football pyramid. So we're just sat below the two professional and semi-professional leagues, which are the Women's Super League 1 and 2. The season's going well so far. We are second in the league, which is positive. We've got about 3 or 4 games to go. And last week we actually secured our place in the County Cup final, which we won last year, so that's really good. And a few weeks ago we beat the total points in the league that the club's ever got, I think. So we've still got games to go, so that's obviously a real positive of the season.
Absolutely, and you joined Huddersfield in 2016. How have you found the club so far? What's it been like, maybe in comparison to other teams that you've played for?
Yeah, so this is my second season. I have really enjoyed it. I think at this level you have to enjoy it because it's a big commitment. So I really enjoy it. The girls were so welcoming when I first joined, and I'm hoping that I'll be at Huddersfield for a few more years. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. So how does that tie into the rest of your life? Because I know that and we'll come on to this a little bit more later on, but it's not exactly easy for women to earn a living wage in football. So how do you balance your work life with your sporting life?
I mean, it works quite well, really. I mean, we train Tuesdays and Thursdays and we play Sundays, so especially at this level when you have to enjoy it, that has to be the main reason you're doing it. We don't get paid, we're not in the top league, we're not professional footballers, so I go to work in the day, and then after work I'll go training, and that's what it's like, and that's what it's like for all the girls.
Just for the love of the game,
yeah.
Then, yeah. You've plied your trade before Huddersfield. You've played for one of the most historic women's football teams in Doncaster Bells. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And Chelsea as well, which is now one of the most well-funded women's teams. How do you compare your experiences at those different clubs, and maybe with Huddersfield as well?
Well, each 3 of the clubs are they're all in different tiers. So you've got Chelsea in WSL 1, Donny in WSL 2, and we're in the Premier League. So I've been able to experience lots of different football, and I've been lucky enough to do so. And I think that it has helped me develop my game. They're 3 completely different clubs, 3 completely different standards. All 3 clubs share same values, and but hopefully in the years to come Huddersfield can continue to grow and compete with teams higher up, and hopefully that we can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen some very obvious improvements in the ways that women's football is promoted. I know that this year the BBC has taken on some games themselves. More female footballers are becoming household names as well. What impact do you think that normalising of women's football will have on young women who are thinking about taking up football as a career?
I think normalising women in football, it just instantly removes any kind of stigma that's attached to the sport. I work in schools, so often I'll say to a group of girls, who's your footballing hero? And it's so surprising because it's very, very rare that they'll say a female footballer. It was always a male footballer. I think that the media can continue to work with women's football like it does now. It's grown so much, and the more that young girls get to see that women's football can be done as a full-time job now, it is professional, they'll have these role models to look up to, and I think that can encourage them to start playing football.
Yeah, I know that a big one for a lot of young women was the Team GB team at 2012, sorry, in England, and that was quite a big breakout moment for women's football in England. And now that was we have the England's team was managed by Hope Powell. Now we've got Phil Neville who's gone in there, and there seems to be a really strong atmosphere around the camp having Phil Neville gone in. Do you think that there is still things? Do you think women's football stands alone in its own right now, or do you think that it's still and always will be something where that they can take things from the men's game?
I mean, I think it's growing so much. It's obviously come on in the last how many years? 10 years. So it's grown so much. The women's team got bronze in the World Cup. They came third in the World Cup. Got a bronze medal. So all these things, where it's shown on the media, it's being shown to a wider audience. People are seeing it. People are seeing women's games on the TV, and they would have never seen a women's game before. All these things that are happening, I just feel that it's impacting the women's game so much, and it's growing, and it doesn't have to rely on the men's game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know. Despite that, the wage disparity between men's football and women's football is possibly one of the biggest wage disparities in the world. Really, I think Alexis Sanchez, who's reported to earn £650,000 in a week, where you compare that with Marta, who is, certainly for myself, is the most exciting women's footballer that I've watched, who earns £50,000 a year. Do you think that gap will ever be closed? And what do you think it's based on? Do you know what I mean? I
mean, I think it's getting smaller and smaller. We've got the Women's Super League 1 teams in that league, now professional. It's their full-time job. They're getting paid to play football. It wasn't so long ago where women wouldn't be getting paid, or very little. So the game is growing. It has grown so much, and it's going to continue to grow. You can't really look at the fact that there's still such a big gap in a negative light, because the game is improving, and it can't just improve overnight. There's got to be time that the game can evolve, but the game is going in the right steps. So, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Do you think? You sometimes look at how things change within things like sport, and often it's fan driven, and often it's sort of supporter pressure, if you like. Do you think that could be a driving factor? As I know that the gates that women's football are getting week by week, they're improving week by week, and as that fan base builds, do you think there can be a sort of pressure element for change within disparity in wages in football?
Yeah, it's a bit of a knock-on effect, really, because the more women's games that are shown within the media, so on TV, you've got, WSL games that are shown on BT Sport, you've got England women's games that are shown on, the BBC, which is excellent. From that, it's getting, shown to such a wider audience. People are obviously seeing it, may have not seen a game before. This could then cause, a little girl or anyone out there to become really interested in women's football, want to go watch the game. You get more people going to watch the game, bigger, increase in ticket sales. So it's kind of just a knock-on effect, really. Then the game becomes bigger, the club's getting more money. So I do think the media is the platform for all of that. So as long as games keep getting shown, which they are, and more games can get shown, and that's absolutely fantastic, because it just means that more people are witnessing, women's football.
Yeah, I think if we look at somewhere like America, where I think Alex Morgan is better paid than quite a lot of the American men's football team, and women's football in America is as big, if not bigger, than men's football in America. Do you think is that something that you've experienced? Have you been able to experience American women's football, and is that something that could be taken as an example for how women's football can be promoted and can be successful?
Yeah, it's definitely an example, and I think, you know, even about 3-4 years ago, I was considering going to America because of how big it's over there. But now here, it's getting so big that it's actually kind of matching up with that. And I really do think that, you know, it will be at the same level very soon. It's catching up. So it may not be that people look to America, you know, in a few years and think, you know, women's football's so big because it's getting so big here. It is so big and it is continuing to grow. So
mixed football teams are increasingly common. Kids can play mixed football up to under 16s, I think it is now.
Yeah.
Do you think there'll ever be a case in the future where there'll be mixed games of adult football?
I don't think that will happen. I just think the games are completely different, and it's, you know, you should be able to appreciate the two different games. However, I would encourage like any young girl to play in a mixed team up until 16. I played in an all-girls team, and I've always played in an all-girls team, but I would encourage it because I do think it helps you develop as a player. And I've spoken to players that, you know, have played with boys up until 16, and you know, they've really enjoyed it, so I would encourage that. Yeah, no. I just don't think that there would be mixed men and women's teams in the future.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you a story now, because when I was young, I mean, I've grown up playing football all my life, but when I was quite young, I was on holiday in Cornwall, and we were playing football on the campsite, and there was a young lad on the other team who was a few years younger than us, but our team were destroying their team, basically, and he kept on saying, "I'm going to go and get my sister." And we were all like, yeah, whatever, mate, come on, go and get your sister. And in the end, he went and got his sister. And it turned out his sister was an under-16s international for Denmark. And she turned up and destroyed us. And I've never been nutmegged as many times on a football field in my life. So I'm wondering if there have ever been any memorable occasions where, you know, boys have been maybe, you know, taking the mick out of you for playing football and saying, you know, I'm a better footballer or whatever, and you've been able to show them up?
I don't think I've had any like direct experiences. I mean, at school we've always got, you know, the boys' generalisation of girls can't play football, but you know, playing football at school, in my experiences, like as soon as I ever played football, or as soon as the girls went and played football with the boys, you know, the girls' football team, they actually quite really respected you because they realised that you could play. But I do think the generalisation of you know, what boys thought was that the girls can't play football, but I do think that is actually getting squashed now. So I don't think that is as much a view now as it was then. Yeah,
definitely. On Sunday you play Wolves at home. Where do your games take place? And if people wanted to come along and watch, what would be the process for that? Is it ticketed or? Yeah,
so you just turn up. We play at the Stafflex Arena. I think it's £3 entry. But yeah, just turn up. Games are normally on Sundays. If it's a league game, it will always be like a 2 o'clock kickoff. So yeah, all you do is just turn up and come along and support.
Yeah, and do Huddersfield Town Ladies have like a Facebook page or?
Yeah, we have. I think we're on all social media platforms, so like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So yeah, you can find us on there.
Brilliant, Millie Turner. Thank you very much for joining us. That's all we have time for. Good luck with the rest of the season, and hopefully we can get to speak to more of your team in the future. That's all from the Cowshed. Goodbye for now.